Hi, I'm El Ninja Cupcake, she, her.
And I'm Haley, she, her as well.
I'm Jerika, she, her. And this week we have a super amazing, awesome guest.
Hi, I'm Amy Falcone, she, her.
Yay!
Yay!
Thanks for coming on, Amy. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
This is Insight Check, where we delve into the dungeon of your bad decisions to retrieve the treasure of wisdom. Thanks for coming, everybody. Today we are going to do our segments, and we're going to start with Dungeon Crawl. Yay!
Woohoo! Would you like to take it away, Jerika?
I would like to talk about the Twitter exchange that I saw, starting with Travis McElroy, who posted, "I would cast at Terry Crews as Magnus Burnside in a heartbeat." Now, as you may know, Magnus Burnside is a character on the Zonecast, and I know him specifically from the Stream of Many Eyes when he was a guest character on the DCA streams. Great and fun character. But somebody retweeted this tweet by Travis, and then Terry Crews responded, "I'd love to do it in capital letters." So that was really cool. And so I'm a big Terry Crews fan, recent fan. I just started watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I love some of Terry's other greatest hits. So I would be really excited for another somewhat, famous person to get nestle right into the D&D nest with the rest of us.
With the rest of us. Come on in the waters.
Under that wing, get in there.
I think Terry Crews would be such a good fit for Magnus. I just think that like he is such a nerdy person anyway. I've watched some of his streams where he's like building his gaming PC, and then just the fact that Travis McElroy like wanted like said that he would be his fantasy casting and that he was into it immediately. Like it's like such a match made in heaven. I love it. It's
got to be feels on both sides when somebody calls you out like that, and then when you're the one who calls them out and the person reciprocates.
So, how many times do you see people tweeting at actors or actresses that you really like for things that you really like, but then no response or whatever? It's just fans saying, "Oh, this would be so great," but to have someone respond back is just super cool. Now I really want it to happen.
I think this is how the balls get rolling.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is like how these like great mashups happen sometimes. So.
Well, I think everybody knows that I usually absolutely gush over my favorite D&D show, the C-Team. This weekend was very, very exciting for them. However, I'm going to be a little bit selfish. And I want to dungeon crawl my D&D game.
That I missed.
Can we
so
draw
dramatic.
some parallels though right away?
Some parallels.
If you would like to, I had a game where I had to, for the first time, make a call that I think the character would make that I absolutely was not okay with or was very uncomfortable with. And so that's a new experience for me. My character saw half the party as becoming traitors and turning on her, so she attempted to kill one of them.
Oh no.
It's all tragedy right now in the F list.
Yeah, this is a very fraught situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
it was difficult because Miss Haley unfortunately had to miss this game.
Thanks a lot, washer and dryer delivery.
Yeah. Damn those clean clothes.
Adulting.
Getting in the way of
Nobody
Dungeons
trusts
and
the 2-hour
Dragons. Yeah, it was horrible.
So Jay was playing Haley's character and made the decision to banish me to like this hot spring that he thought was wonderful, but he didn't realize that it was, since we were on the Fae plane, and I was not from the Fae plane, that it was going to banish me back to the prime material plane. So now my character is on the prime material and all the rest of the party is on the Fae plane.
Trapped in the Feywild, trying to find my body.
Yep. And my character has then since decided, since she may actually be the only one that is still in Omen's good graces, since we play in the Ack Inc. world, that she needed to go and unload some of her heavy heart and has just chartered a boat back to Faerun. So
I thought that this was a very novel scenario for me because I'd never played a game where there were so many sort of NPCs being played by other people. So our DM Jay, also your DM Jay, brought in some guests to play a rival sort of disgraced AI franchise, and we were sent to do them off. And oh boy, I have a lot of feelings when the people that I'm fighting are sitting like in the room.
it's a different twist.
It sure is.
When it's like people that you've wanted, we have a list, like we have people that we've told Jay that we'd love to play with, and one of the people, or not one of the people, a few of the people are people that we've either played with in the past or people that we've wanted to play with, and then we were like, now we have to kill you.
Yeah, it was really metagamey in a lot of ways, and the game before, I actually brought Air playing Bert into Whispers, and I was like, okay, I really don't want this to go down this way, so I'm going to give you secret information about Banna so that you can manipulate her, because I didn't feel like I could make the decision without the impetus from somebody else. But I also felt really weird about like saying it in front of everyone else. It was very strange. So that's how I kind of like got around I'm really uncomfortable with this. I was like, this is how I get more comfortable with this.
Interesting. Yeah, the only thing Jay had to go off of was me saying that my character, that Fia, would stick to the job. And, but there's also some reasons as well that she wouldn't be okay with, like, teammates attacking each other in her franchise. So I think that was how the banishment of Loxley happened. And now we have to figure out what we're going to do next. So I'm composing a letter to Omen. That's my homework for this week. Reporting back on the state of our sad, sad team.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Dear Omen, we failed our job. Please don't be mad. Also, everyone's fighting. Help.
Oh, and I'm level 2 decisionist now.
Da-da-da.
It's so exciting.
Unreal. I actually even got a da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Oh, perfect.
That's awesome.
It's the little joys.
I'm sad I missed it.
Yeah, so that was an intense, I'm going to say that again, intense game of D&D.
Yeah, it was one of those you walk away from and you just have to take a minute.
Yeah. We also ended early too, because, oh boy.
Yeah.
Draining
I think
sessions.
it had left Jay at a point where he was like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, I think he was out of a bit, like, ability to figure out what I would have Fia do, and I was stuck in a house with no internet. It was just all... Next week, we will have more on the soap opera. That is our campaign.
I think we're taking a break next week. It'll be the week
that
after.
is true. We are, because of them moving, we are on a slight holiday.
Ugh,
Here.
I want a dungeon crawl taking breaks in your campaigns because I hate it, and I'm about to take a break in mine too.
No.
Yeah, it's just
It's a
kind of
nightmare.
like, it's especially if it's not at like a set wrapping up kind of a point. Like, even then, like, I feel like it takes me a few games to like get back into that character, because we've taken some like mini breaks for a few weeks and played some other games. We played some Dungeon World for a little bit, which was really cool. And it was fun to do, like, to play some other games and play a different character, but then it takes a little while, I feel like, to jump back into like like the headspace that I'm in for Fia versus like the other characters that I've played during this off time. Azure, Posa, yes, my little goblin most recently, was very different.
I totally agree with you. I think that when you are in your headspace for your character, you know, you almost get like in a groove with your character, right? Like, you know what they would do and you know what they would say. And when you are having a relationship with them every single week, it's really easy to know what that is. And then you take a break and you come back and it's like, you know, knocking the rust off everything.
Yeah. I don't have too much for my dungeon crawl this week. I'm a little behind the times, but I did want to give a shout out to Danny Hartel, who we are big fans of here on the show, for her new role at Wizards of the Coast as a concept artist for D&D. I'm super excited to see the art that that you produce and everything that she accomplishes going forward. I'm just very excited. So I wanted to send congratulations out into the internet for you, Danny.
Yay, Danny.
That's really awesome. Now I'm really interested to know what a concept artist is and what they do.
I've seen some of her art in the past too, and she's super talented. I really like the stuff that I've seen. So
Very creative in her concept design. Like just even seeing her put together Scrummy.
Right.
Girl's got vision.
Yes, for sure.
And execution.
For sure.
It's true.
I would like, as a special dungeon crawl, to gush quite a bit about Waffles Inc. If you are a fan of the C Team, if you are a fan of dice camera action, this D&D extravaganza is something that you should definitely take part in. It has happened, but the VODs will be available, I think, on D&D, where D&Ds are sold, and also on Penny Arcade, YouTubes, and things like that.
It was a big deal. I think at one point this weekend I looked and there was over 4,000 people watching.
Oh, really?
The highest was 10,000, actually.
Whoa!
That's awesome.
That's awesome. I wasn't able to catch it, and I'm super looking forward to the VODs and catching up on it.
I have to say, I think it was part 3 of day 1. The line, Amy, this is a little spoilery, where you're like, true love doesn't always work out. That hit me. And it was so perfect. And I think it just landed really, really well. And so that was definitely one of my favorite parts of the first day.
There wasn't a whole lot of space to RP in those later sessions just because so much was going on. So I was really happy to find a moment somewhere.
Sometime.
But it was so much fun. Oh my goodness. That 8-person game was such a mess, but it was such a great experience. I'm so glad we got to do that. And what you didn't see off screen was we recorded a secret podcast that'll be released later this year too, and it was probably the best piece of content that came out of the weekend. So that's yet to come.
Very cool.
That is really
You
exciting.
guys put in some work this weekend.
We did. I am dying.
Oh, no.
Please don't die. No.
I have been having a little bit of internet trubs, so I was catching bits and pieces. I think the longest stretch that I got to catch was, I think, for about 2 hours before our game yesterday. So it was when, was it Asmodeus had blown out the back of the church?
Yeah.
And Ryan Dinar had commanded him to count the salt.
Oh, yeah. And he's successful. It was a pit fiend, which is the devil version of a Baylor, which is just, the baddest baddie you can get. And it was because he had bestow curse on him and all these negative rolls against him that we were able to actually do a successful level 1 command.
That's so awesome.
That was really good.
Oh my goodness.
That game, I thought that Chris Perkins and Jerry Horkins did a really, really, really good job leveraging 2 DMs. I'm sure there's a lot of ways that could have gone wrong, but I think that they worked really well together, and the Asmodeus stuff, I think, worked really well because of the way they were doing it.
The way that they played Asmodeus was... I'm such a big Perkins fan. Obviously, I'm a Holkins fan too, but I have been waiting so many years and hoping that I could get DM'd by Perkins. So this was kind of a dream come true for me. But the way that both of them played Asmodeus was masterful.
I was on the edge of my seat. Oh my gosh, spoilers, all the spoilers. When Cathris went down, I was just hooked.
My sweet boy.
I know, but it was perfect because there was a lot in this that was a lot of we've been sitting on stuff for a while, and this was kind of the culmination of a lot of that, and I think that was encapsulated by that moment as well.
Oh, I did want to note the first day I did get to catch part of one of the games, and just being able to see the Chris dynamic.
Oh yeah,
Chris.
The way that those two you need to get yourself an other that looks at you the way that Chris looks at Chris.
Yes.
They just played off of each other.
I just can't wait to catch up. That's top of my list of things
not
to watch. I
disappoint.
feel like I have years of D&D content to catch up on right now.
Oh, no.
But I'm very excited to dive in. And it's all standalone, right? So if I'm not up to speed on some of the other content, it's cool.
So a lot of stuff is explained in the stream itself. So there's a lot of again, things that have been leading up to the events in Waffles Inc., but they explain it while it's happening.
Got it. That's good. So I won't be too confused.
Yeah. Okay, now we will slide into the interview segment. We are super blessed, #blessed, to have Amy the Falcone here this evening. She's been kind enough to let us ask her some questions. So we're going to do some of that, and then we will all answer some questions about how to make your D&D better.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Bloop, bloop.
Amy.
Yes.
When creating a character, how do you roll a PC and develop backstory?
Great question. And I'd love to answer it too. And I'm gonna right now.
Just you watch.
So for me, creating a character is, I kind of approach it the same way I approach a lot of things. Like I approach it the same way I approach drawing or anything else I do creatively. The character just kind of, this is going to sound so woo, but the character just kind of finds me, and it's my job to translate it onto paper. So when I was creating Walnut, I got the idea of her really fast. And it was all I could do to just keep up and like write everything down and pick skills and attributes that fit her. And you can do it the other way where, you roll and then you see like what kind of character would fit these stats. But that's just not how it works for me. That's not how I do my best work.
I totally understand that. Jerika was my longest running character. And the more that I kind of started poking at threads when trying to come up with reasons for why certain things were the way they were on the character sheet, I was like, oh, I see. This leads to this, leads to this. And then it was kind of like I understood her more the more that I did it.
Yeah, I totally get that.
What's your favorite part about playing a druid?
So I have so in my real life, I have a very intimate relationship with nature. I think it's something that we should, protect and respect. And so playing a druid, it's getting to merge something that I feel in my real life with my fantasy life. And I think that is something that I get to explore safely, in that fantasy environment. And there's other bonuses like getting to talk to animals and getting to talk to plants.
Yeah,
and those are really, really fun. But for me, it's all about that nature, baby.
Is there anything about Walnut's development as a character at the table that has surprised you, or anything that you say is different than how you originally thought of her?
Yeah, when I first created her, I thought she was really funny. I thought that she was going to be like a really funny character. And then I got her to the table and I realized that everyone else was really funny. And that Walnut is kind of like ironically the straight person.
Straight man.
Yeah.
Yes, gotcha. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that, everyone else is kind of wacky and zany, and it's her job to just kind of be there and be very, sardonic and incredulous, funny by omission. And that was the thing that took me by surprise. In the first couple sessions, I really had to change my style because I had planned for this one note of character, and it turns out that she was this way deeper character than I expected, and she had many more layers, and she was more realistic than I thought, and she wasn't just like a joke. She was a real person. And so that was much different than what I initially expected.
I have to say that when I first started watching the C-Team, those many moons ago, Walnut was the first character that I could sort of relate to. And it was almost like she was the one whose shoulder you were looking over.
Oh, yeah.
Because, and she's the most like me. I'm sure there's people who watch the C-Team who relate to Dinar or to,
I hope
Dinar.
not. No, I'm joking.
I hope not.
I totally get it. But, I feel like what you said, she's kind of the straight person in the comedy duo. And in that sense, she's kind of like the window for the viewer.
I think she functions like that pretty well, especially being the face of Ack Inc. and any of the Ack Inc. content that comes through. It's like she very much makes sure she's like in charge of that. So I think that's like a very good way to lead viewers in.
Let me propose this rebrand for you.
Yes.
Walnut and her weirdos.
Walnut and her weirdos. Oh no,
so
I
good.
love it.
I love all the other weirdos. They've definitely grown on me
Yeah.
over the episodes.
Oh, you gotta love them.
And oh man, I just love the way that Jerry and your fellow players are just rolling out that backstory like a single thread at a time. You know, we just got some hints about Rosie now, and I'm like, oof.
Yeah. What was that?
Yeah. I do like the way that it's all been treated. Like, it's just sort of slowly worked in very subtly in some areas. And then, I mean, obviously in some areas a little bit more abrupt. But it's just sort of all worked in so organically, I guess is what I'm trying to say, to the actual storyline. It's not just like, and here's a backstory dump about this character. That's one of the things that I really love about the show.
It's so funny. I thought that Walnut's backstory was going to be this big secret, and I thought that it would be like, you know, she'd keep it so close to the chest and no one would find out about it. And then in the first big story arc, they, you know, go to her ancestral home and everybody finds out that her, you know, enclave is dead and everything. And it's just really funny that it's like, you know, it depends on what the DM wants to do. But it's
Right.
like, yeah, now we're in a place where we have some... like a little bit of foundational stuff for everybody, and so everybody can now just kind of like, you get spoon-fed everything else.
Everything else, right, right.
You have your base, and now you get the rest.
You get the rest, those tidbits.
On the subject of cohorts and co-cast, who is your favorite co-star, and why is it Ryan Hartman?
Oh my god. Did Ryan write this himself?
I was channeling him.
My favorite co-star is Alyssa, our wonderful shadow counselor.
Pour one out for Alyssa.
The Scotch Goblin herself, who puts everything together. She takes care of us, and she does so much work behind the scenes, like nonstop. I cannot believe it. But then otherwise, you know that I love my C-Team family. They are like my actual family. And I talk to them every single day, whether we're recording or not.
I have been so surprised and positively shocked about all the stories I've seen in the past 2 years. About how your family is not the family you're born into, it's the family you choose. And I think that applies at the table as much as not.
I totally agree.
And my F-list family is also my family as well.
It's so good.
It's amazing how close you can get to someone bonding over an entirely different person.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
feel like
No.
they get to see a side of you, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
you, but it's not you.
Right.
It's a very safe environment to
Yes.
explore when you have like this other character that's like a facet of you, but it's not quite you. I don't know. Something very special there.
Yeah. And I think if you can open up to people in something that's like make-believe based, then it's almost easier to open up to them about real things. At least that's how I've found.
Yeah.
Now that I've been able to kind of like portray or try to like portray emotions via our games, like it's a little easier to sort of just say like when things aren't great or whatever, because I tend to be the everything's fine person. But I find that it's a little easier now, at least with like our group, to be able to be like, things aren't great right now, like, or when things are great, sharing that things are great, like either side of that. And I think a D&D family is a very special kind of family.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. We've seen so many people through the Shadow Council like finding games and finding their own D&D families, and it's just been really lovely on the outside. On the outside of it.
C-Team, bringing families together for
2 years.
some
However
number
long.
of months.
Our game will have almost been going for a year now. I think we'll almost have been playing
As far
for
as
a year.
F-list goes.
As far as F-list goes. Yeah, our
Yeah,
game.
Cupcake congratulated us on our 1 year anniversary.
Wait, it's been a year
yesterday.
now?
Yeah.
Missed our 1 year game. I would have
It's
been like
insane.
even more upset last night if I had realized it was our 1 year anniversary game that I was missing. No more sad.
Well, we can celebrate in our own way.
In our own way.
Yes.
I guess technically your start date was next Monday. So 1 week from today,
1 week
which
from
would
today.
have been several days ago when this airs.
Yes, indeed. It's true. Another question for Amy.
Yes.
Of all of your endeavors, webcomics, streaming, C-Team, etc., I know that you lift, bro. Is there one that is most representational of you as an artist?
I think the fact that I do so much is what is representational of me as an artist and as a person. I just really want to experience a lot of things. I really want to, create in as many venues as possible, and I want to, see as much as I can. And so I really try not to limit myself to, one thing. Like I don't want to just be a comic artist or just an illustrator. I want to do it all. And so, it took me a long time, but I used to think of myself, as just a comic artist, and there were things that I wouldn't do because I was like, well, no, I'm just a comic artist. I can't do X. I can't do Y. And then I got over it, and now I'm having much more fun.
Excellent.
Nice.
What would you say the next thing that you would be super interested in doing is?
I really want to do something in games.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah.
What games inspire you?
A lot of tabletop, and I'm really there's this game, it's a little card game. It's called Boss Monster. I love it to death. You play as a boss monster of a dungeon, and you're trying to basically chew the heroes up as they come through your dungeon. And that's been really influential for me, just the way that I look at how you can tell stories in games and how you can approach games, because you're looking at it from the completely opposite side of how you normally are. You're not playing the hero, you're playing the enemy, but you root for the enemy and you really want the heroes to die. And that's been a really big game for me.
Was this by chance made by Jay?
It's all about perspective.
It's all about perspective.
Maybe that Remoraz had a family.
Oh no! Bringing it back to the Remoraz.
What are your creative freelance and streaming goals, Amy?
Yeah, so right now I am trying to do the whole creative thing full time.
We are all enjoying your Twitch streams.
Yeah.
Twitch.tv/Amy T Falcone.
Thank you.
Most weekdays.
It is most weekdays, early for Pacific time and not so early for Eastern time.
Perfect for Eastern time.
It's good for Eastern time, people. But what I really want to do is I would really love it if I could be streaming more, actually. Right now, a lot of my time is taken up by doing contract work, a lot of freelance design stuff, and I would love it, the more I can make it illustration work, the better.
Very cool.
I think that this might be one of those times where we answer questions.
Is it one of those times?
I think it might be one of those times. We do that sometimes on this show. We have a great question that I want to lead in with because we were talking about this earlier today, and I'm just ready for it. The title, Only the Best Dire Animals Will Do, submitted by Galactic Orca to, I'm assuming, RD&D. And so this person would like some help. They're making a dire zoo for their campaign. The animals will break out Jurassic Park style. They've already got dire wolves and bears. They've also homebrewed a dire pangolian for now, but now they need our help. What other dire animals should I include? What would be the best dire animals?
Now I have to say, Galactic Orca as an idea, I'm really intrigued by.
Galactic Orca.
So I might just start with dire orca.
Yes, I guess it would depend on climate.
It's true. So I guess we're talking about a zoo. So like,
we can just fantasize this.
Yeah, just whatever you want. What kind of animals do you think are best to have in your Jurassic Park style zoo experience?
Dire otters.
Yeah, otters.
Yes, a dire kakapo or a dire platypus.
A platypus.
So they already have giant bats, but I would suggest an even gianter bat.
An even gianter.
Yeah.
Extra large bat.
Extra large.
Are we talking
Supersize
fruit
me?
bat?
Yeah, so like they're already big. but like even bigger.
Like a friendly fruit bat that like invades farmers' fields and steals watermelons.
I like this idea already. I like rabbits, so dire bunnies. Can they be cute as well?
Yes, please. I love it.
Some dire bunnies.
Terrifying.
Maybe dire squirrels.
Dire
Clearly, I've
squirrels.
lived in the
Dire
city for too long.
That's nuts.
Dire chipmunks, dire robins. That's pretty much the only wildlife I have here. Squirrels.
Dire deer, though.
Dire deer. There's some good alliteration there.
Giant freaking deer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Haley, do you want to tell the people about the one that you were super excited about?
So earlier when we were talking, there was like, I decided that I wanted to be a dire fly.
What?
Like a fly, like a really annoying giant fly. Just flies buzzing around. So if you're going to have dire animals, you got to have a whole ecosystem. So the bugs, they're
True,
important too. So
the dire otter won't have enough to eat.
without dire flies. To pollinate the dire trees, I don't know if that works.
Dire biodiversity.
Yes.
I think it
It's
may
important.
also still be in New Zealand, but there is this other type of ground bird that they have problems with because it's not afraid of people, and it will actually go out and like move road cones, like in construction
No.
zones.
Oh, no.
So I would love a dire one of those that basically just waits for people to like not be in the area and
Oh my
goes and like
gosh.
moves around a bunch of shit and then leaves.
I want to know what these are.
There's video.
That's really great. I've seen kiwi
really
birds
funny.
before, and they're like real weird looking.
Would you want them to be even bigger?
Even bigger. They're actually quite small and nocturnal. And so when we saw them, they were in this like weird, it was at some sort of preserve place, and they were in this room where you could like kind of see them, but they mostly just looked really creepy because of the dim lighting, and I was like, these are scary.
Dire red pandas. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh,
no,
dire red,
Cuddle
yes,
Fest.
please. And just pandas. Red
Yep.
pandas, all the fluffy, cute animals. I want the cutest
Love it.
dire zoo imaginable.
About like a
And you wouldn't fight any of them.
No.
You would just sit and...
I'd be like, you can be free,
be
come
with
live in my
animals.
house.
yes.
Yes. So this one, on a related note, they're all related. It's all about animals. But since we brought up rabbits, dire rabbits, I want to jump to this. What should I do with a suspicious rabbit that my PCs are now obsessed with? So in a recent game, this is submitted by CCOM1. So in a recent game, I included a job board with a few mini quests for the adventurers. Among more serious ones, like a strange beast killing people to the west, I also included intentionally joke ones, like reports of a suspicious rabbit. Well, my PCs immediately latched on to said suspicious rabbit, frequently making perception checks for it, and seriously committing to finding it, even though the city residents they asked just laughed and said it was a joke for newcomers. I hadn't planned for it, but now want to make it something really fun and memorable, and have always loved the ideas on here, so I wanted to ask, what could this suspicious rabbit turn out to be, and any fun ideas on how things can play out.
This is such a good question.
Think that this is great, because as
I love it.
you hear from a lot of DMs, I think, is that players tend to latch on to the weirdest things sometimes, and sometimes you have to adapt and give them this suspicious rabbit content that they deserve and desire.
This just from my WoW background, I would love for this to be someone in a really poorly made bunny suit living
my
with
goodness.
a colony of rabbits. Like dirty socks
Yes.
for ears.
Very suspicious.
Very suspicious.
Yes. That just like thinks he's a bunny.
I would want it to be an almirage, which is basically a bunny with like a field bunny with like a unicorn horn on it.
Oh, right.
And then maybe like that unicorn horn has gotten into some trouble there.
I think it would also be good if it was like some prince or something that got turned into a rabbit, but actually he likes it and he's just kind of cool with it.
He just wants to stay a rabbit. I
Yeah.
think that's
Love it.
great. I was
like it here.
I just like it.
eating grass.
someone turned
I like hiding and running away.
I like the new lack of responsibility in my life.
Yeah, exactly.
I never wanted to marry her in the first place.
I found
I
a new love.
this
Freedom.
freedom,
Strawberries.
my rabbit
Yes.
nest. I was thinking you could also make it, if your players are more into the epic battle style, you could go all Monty Python and deal with some killer rabbits, if they so desired.
Dire killer rabbits.
Dire Bunnicula.
Bunnicula.
Yes.
Strahd got to that bunny. Not good.
Got to that bunny. It was bad. Bad news, bunnies.
It could also just be a klepto bunny that just likes stealing things it shouldn't.
Yeah, just likes to, or it's just destroying people's gardens. Thea would take that very seriously.
Do you know how you catch a suspicious rabbit?
How would you recommend?
By the tail?
You sneak up on it.
Oh, no.
Oh my goodness. Very cute.
I like it. This person would like to know some nature facts. How can they make a wild animal attack seem more interesting? Wolves attacking a campsite in the middle of the night. Bears coming home to a cave den where the party's hiding out. How do you spice up what is otherwise a very straightforward kill or be killed animal against unthinking wildlife?
I think there should be sort of like a not very dangerous animal. Let's call it a goat. Let's say there's a goat that wanders into the campsite. And maybe there's more than one. Maybe there's like 3 goats. And of course, like the adventurers, could kill them. But a lot of the teams would probably be like, let's be friends, let's have pets. But like, I think these goats should like run away, but in like the chase me kind of way. and then have the adventurers follow them into some sort of trap. Like, like their actual owners with pitchforks.
Oh.
Giant owlbear.
Giant owlbear.
Or maybe like a cliff where like the goats can get down, but like a humanoid would have a lot of trouble.
Some difficulty. That's what I was going to suggest. Maybe they try to lead them off in a kind of fairy tale sort of way, and that gets them into some trouble or gets them lost. Or you could go the other route and have one, if the players start just attacking these animals, you could turn it around and have it be like, maybe your suspicious rabbit prince is there and they don't want to become prince killing people.
The bear portion of this I find very interesting. So if the bear comes home to its den where the party's hiding, I'm assuming that the party's more towards the back of the den, right?
Yep, so they'll be trapped.
What if
trapped?
Exactly. What if the bear says, I'm not going back there, and then falls asleep at the entrance of the cave and blocks it, and they have to figure out how to get out, or they have to kill it, or something?
A different kind of puzzle. Yeah. Love it.
I also love if you go back to the person in a rabbit suit idea, where these are just like the medieval furries, basically, and you've just like
interesting.
Yeah, you've just like crashed their party site, and they're like, hey. Who are these guys?
So we're putting animal in quotes.
Yeah.
I like it.
I mean,
Very cool.
they're wild animals. I mean, they're the wildlife of the party.
Ooh,
There you go.
I think depending on like what kind of story you're trying to tell, you could even have something like, when you do damage to this poor animal, you get damaged. Maybe there's some mechanic where like,
you need to protect it
if
now.
if this forest is actually meaningful to your king or your party or something, that like you're actually hurting yourself.
Drops your con or something.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that it is that's a good way to change things up. If you don't want just the same traveling tropes, you can make it, you're traveling along and you can find a wounded wolf by the roadside and have to help it and nurse it back to health and find its pack, things like that, instead of your typical like wolves attacking you at night.
We've talked before about giving the party a pet or a baby to care for.
To care for.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
That was a terrible idea.
It's true. And now I have a pet. And I live in fear that it will be killed.
Oh, no.
My Avril. In the last fight that we were in, Jay was like, does your squirrel come into battle with you? And I was like, no, she's probably in a tree somewhere. It's fine.
I think that was the right call.
Yep.
So we have a question from Hot Shop DM. So one of my players wants to be a goat. A bit of help? You read the title. This is our first game of D&D ever, and one of my players really wants to be a goat. There is not convincing her otherwise, and honestly, I really don't mind. I found the goat stats on Roll20, and I guess it could work. I'm just afraid it will not live to see the end of the game. Any suggestions on how to pull it off? I was thinking maybe make her some sort of druid that really has a thing for transforming into goats or something like that. If not, maybe some alterations to make it less balanced with the rest of the players. I would like to kick this off with goats are horrible creatures.
Oh no.
I have a long history with goats, and it has not been positive.
Oh,
and
no. One of my coworkers has goats, and he just puts them into the back of his station wagon and drives them around places. And they mow and they eat his lawn. He has goats and beagles, and I'm like, you're a very interesting person.
So I have a story.
Please tell us this
which
Jerika
is one of the reasons
story.
why I picked this question to answering. Ooh. I was asked a couple years ago to play a game of Shadowrun, and I'm not very familiar with the Shadowrun rules, or really at that time the world or any mechanics. So I actually asked the DM if I could be like an AI, or if I could be like not a full character, but like someone like almost a observer or a low level participant that doesn't really make choices. So I think in some ways I really relate to this character who's asking to be a goat, because I can understand that it can be very overwhelming and you don't necessarily want to jump in right away or have the responsibility of making choices. So I would really want to accommodate something like this, because I think it's like one step before character creation. It's sussing it out, it's seeing how it works, and
sheep are better.
Sheep are better?
Sheep are good.
So
I like
maybe
sheep.
Maybe they want to participate at a low sort of risk level. I totally understand that.
Maybe you can just spice things up a little bit, and, maybe this goat is a wizard and it just does goat things. It's like not all, it doesn't have to only be humanoid characters, I don't think, that can do things. You could have a very Redwall feel just with goats, I guess. Or you could just do something to buff those goat stats a bit, because I just think that your basic goat with like a 3rd level adventuring party is not going to be the most rewarding thing. Just if your goat gets killed immediately, that might not be great.
I think it might be a cool thing to pick a class for this friend.
Yeah.
Whatever form it might take. Just say, druid. Druid makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wizard also makes a lot of sense. Those are two very appropriate classes, but maybe not reveal it right away to the player or players.
Or it could have just been a druid who's just been spending a lot of time in goat form until they were comfortable becoming... Exactly. Or they're a goat druid that can turn into a person. That could also be interesting.
Sure. I am super interested in seeing whoever does that first and can pull it off. A druid that stays most of the time in beast form.
I think we've had a question like that before, is if you wanted to change that. I would take great pleasure in if somebody played a goat anytime that there was like a loud noise or a bright light, like a sudden bright light, that they have to make some sort of a check to see whether or not they faint.
To see if they fall over? Yes.
Yeah.
That would be great. Con save. Do you faint?
Yeah.
Or as long as it's fun for everyone, I don't mind that at all.
Give them a bonus to using their headbutt.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would love, Amy, if you could tell people where they could find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Amy T Falcone, or on Twitch at Amy T Falcone, or on Patreon at Amy T Falcone. My last name is Falcone, like a falcon, but with an E. Thank you.
I almost did it during the intro, and then I felt weird, so I didn't. So I'm glad that it got to happen now.
No, it was perfect.
Thank you all so much for joining this episode. Once again, we would like to thank Vince Vept for our theme music called Never Stand Alone. We have also been using them for our Improve Your Improv segments, so we are huge fans. We would also like to thank our guest, Amy T Falcone, both for being a wonderful human and also joining us today, and thirdly, for making our branding, the images we use on social media. So thank you so much. Without you, guess what? We wouldn't have faces. So thank
That
you.
would be pretty creepy if we didn't have faces.
Answering your cues from our collective A's.
This
Was
Insight.
check.
With, oh, hang on. Hold on.